Hello, friends. Well, we are live. Today is Tuesday, and on Tuesdays, we present to you the Next Generation Airship project. My name is Pavel Filippov, and next to me is Fyodor Konstantinov. And in general, this is exactly what we will be doing today. So, if you still don't have a complete understanding of what the Next Generation Airship project is, when we will launch the first airships, and how we plan to commercialize this industry and business direction, then you have come to the right place at the right time. By the way, please note the time that today we are broadcasting at 7 p.m. Moscow time. Previously it was at 5 o'clock. We want to see if there will be more viewers, and if this time is convenient for you. So please let us know if you prefer 7 p.m. or perhaps another time at all, if possible, perhaps. In general, we will experiment and strive to achieve the most comfortable broadcasting times for everyone. Don't forget to like and share, as this is what accelerates the funding of the project. Please and thank you. We have a people's project, a project that involves a large number of people, so the speed at which this project develops also depends on you, the viewers. So, don't be lazy, it is really very important. We are already conducting our second broadcast from the office of NOVA, which will be working on the airships. This is the actual office where the team is already working. We will provide you with more details about this in the news in a couple of days. Today we will have the presentation starting with the basics. As you know, before we began working on this project, a lot of work was done. They studied a large number of technologies and various talented individuals who proposed different business ideas based on their technologies, but SOLARGROUP focused specifically on airships. And here I want to address a question to Fyodor. Why airships specifically, and why did you decide to focus on this business direction?
I also greet everyone indeed because the idea has been in the air. The idea was in the air, and everyone felt it. Let me explain why. Firstly, because the task was set for the company SOLARGROUP to find a project that is in its infancy and could become a game changer upon its implementation, meaning it could become so large and significant that crowd investors, everyone who supports this project, could really earn substantially and impressively from it. Well, this is a typical investment project. Any investment project is indeed looking for such a unicorn, and it had to be sought after. Among available, clearly one can pull something out of thin air, say we will make flying saucers, and everyone needs them, but who can make them? In other words, they were naturally looking for something real. There were many different projects, but none as large and ambitious as airships, and what is most interesting, feasible ones. Why airships in particular, and how effective and economical they are is a slightly different question indeed. We chose this project because first, it is large. This industry is currently absent and can be created. Secondly, there is a team capable of implementing the project. These are not just some engineers or designers. These are people who have already done this, who have built airships, sold them, and operated them. New technologies emerged, and while the airship technology is old, having flown 100 years ago, it was still in high demand back then, and it was commercially beneficial to produce and operate them. Considering modern technologies and materials, they can be even more efficient, more economical, and more environmentally friendly. In other words, everything has just come together perfectly. The project is in the zero stage, and it has already started in some countries even at this initial stage. In China they are starting to build airships, in America they are building them, and in France they say that they will soon start building airships. Everyone has begun, and we have started as well. When major players begin to build, it's a good signal for the others that it's time to kick off, meaning the stars have aligned. This means it is necessary. There are a lot of various analytical reports from different countries about how significantly airships will impact the economy, how useful they can be in various countries, and what large complex tasks they can perform that no one else can. In general, everything indicated that this indeed needed to be done, and that's why we started. Can you briefly explain what an airship is?
Everyone can imagine what it looks like, even though we have it here. What is its design, and why does it fly when it appears so large?
Well, this can be explained to children. If you take a balloon, you see when you let it go, it flies up. We can see that. But is there a little motor inside or not? What pulls it up? It's the buoyant force that pulls it up. Are you spending energy to make Archimedes' force pull it up? No, you aren't. It's the same with the airship.
It turns out that airships actually use the same basic laws of physics to essentially fly in the sky, unlike other aircraft.
Other devices also use the laws of physics.
They are really indeed trying to overcome this challenge.
They use them in their own way. They apply the same laws of physics, but the costs for this energy are different. And we, having consumed the gas, lightened the apparatus and created a certain lift for it. And gas is no longer consumed, and all the other energy that we are required to use is only for its stabilization and for creating the propulsive force to move it forward. And this is already a completely different level of energy. There is no need to spin this propeller. Well, in general, it's clear to everyone that airships are much more economical in terms of fuel compared to airplanes and helicopters, and the cost of one flight hour of an airship is the cheapest flight hour.
If we talk about the advantages in general, let's discuss where they can be applied in general and also in comparison to other classic modes of transportation. They are better in some areas, and in some cases they may not use an airplane or helicopter at all.
There is a very common public perception of the use of airships. It is essentially a task related to the transportation of oversized cargo. Taking a large, heavy product from the manufacturer and moving it to the place of operation is a special task that is currently being solved by simply breaking this special product into parts of a size that can pass through existing logistics chains. For example, this is either by truck, by train, or by ship. But most often it is first by train, then by ship, and then again by train. In general, the airship can carry an assembled product and take it directly there. This is one of its superpowers that everyone knows about, indeed. But if we talk about such applications and uses that are not immediately obvious, it is indeed clear that there needs to be some material and economic connection with remote regions. In fact, helicopters can perform this there, for example, and airplanes can do it if there is a place to land, such as a runway. Helicopters can definitely perform this, but it is expensive and they are limited in range. The airship, well, in the long run, of course, it is also limited in distance, but it can fly much farther than a helicopter and transport cargo and people, and perhaps even the cargo of people. And what is most interesting is that it can serve as an infrastructure that creates an object around itself. In other words, there is a certain settlement where, for example, a medical center or any energy facility is absent, and the airships have the capability to directly bring a store, laboratory, or clinic to that location. So the airship of the clinic just arrived, landed, and there were some services available. Something happened and then it flew on. It's a very interesting topic with mobile clinics. You could often see them in buses, and they are planning to launch some kind of train as well. But both the bus and the train require roads, and here the possibilities are much greater. No roads are needed, the sky is free, fly wherever you want and land. We don't need these airfields, we can land in a clear field or even better on water. While clinics that have landed on water, that's just a whole different set of challenges.
But right now I often see them, clearly they're used in advertising, and that's the most basic application, right?
Well, advertising, yes, advertising is everywhere and in everything. An airship is something new, huge, flying in the sky. It's clear that they are paid for this, but it's far from their main application. Although when the industry hit a dead end, it relied solely on advertising for a while. All those airships that Germany built and the ones that continued to be operated in the United States were used primarily for advertising. and probably they were also competitors to the drones that are currently on everyone's lips.
Airships provide strong competition. They are useful for terrain monitoring and transporting small loads.
Most likely, airships do not so much compete. They can do things that drones will never be able to do in their lifetime. To hover over a city for a couple of days, or to drift along a natural conservation area for a week, monitoring fires. What drone? Half an hour, at most an hour. The most outstanding winged drones, yes, it's a bit different here, but still, winged drones cannot carry as much as airships can. Airships in our era of automation are considered flying robotic stations. This will be a whole flying laboratory. It can serve as a carrier for drones. This is a very interesting task, where a large airship flies, drones are deployed from it, perform maintenance somewhere, and then return back to it. So, it is not a competitor, it is more of an additional tool to enhance everything in synergy.
That is, there are indeed many areas of application, and of course these areas exist even now, currently. It is clear that helicopters move cargo and people, and planes do the same. But what is the advantage of the airship? Why use it?
Well, according to the classic scheme, all those who tied their lives to airships based their calculations on the cost of transporting 1 ton over 1 kilometer. And with airships of a certain size, the most advantageous of all existing logistics solutions for cargo transportation begins. So, what makes it better? At the very least, it is cheaper.
That is, we can do the same thing, particularly with cargo, but at a lower cost. Plus, the airship can carry even more cargo.
The cost of the airship is lower. When comparing the production of a helicopter and an airship, the airship is cheaper at the same load capacities. Compared to an aircraft, it is significantly much cheaper in terms of cost than a plane. It cannot compete with an aircraft because the aircraft flies faster. In other words, there is no point in flying such a long distance in an airship unless it is a high-altitude, high-speed airship. The high-altitude, high-speed airship can already compete with an airplane, but this is a rather distant prospect, and discussions about high-altitude, high-speed capabilities are not currently taking place. For many, this is a dream, and most likely it will come to fruition someday, but it is not a competitor to the airplane. And it is also not a competitor to a helicopter. If a small helicopter can grab and carry something, the airship is still larger. There's no need to be evasive about it. That is, everything has its own application, and the airship has its own large and extensive one that does not overlap with any other. It simply complements. We have an additional aerial tool for carrying out some work that is not currently being done, but could be in the future, and potentially more in the future.
And if we look at the competitors you mentioned today, what business directions or goals do they have? For example, I know that Brim positions itself for rescue operations, right?
Well, it's not that he positions himself that way. I actually get the impression that he was building himself an airship ark. He said this also for rescue operations, in case something is destroyed and they need to fly somewhere. But overall, it was most likely his station, in case something urgent happens. And to wait it out, but everything is not going smoothly for him with his airship. It's unlikely that he will achieve much. He should politely thank everyone and say, let's wrap this up. Now, knowing all these mistakes, let's create something new. But will he have enough enthusiasm? Most likely he will. As for the competitors, well, they are not really competitors. They are colleagues because competition exists where the market is already divided. And here, when it doesn't exist, it needs to be formed. So, colleagues in airship development are currently focusing mainly on tourism. And overall, that's good. Because tourism on our planet, I actually don't know. I need to check what percentage of the planet's total GDP tourism constitutes. It seems to me that it is quite significant. Everyone wants tourist airships, the Arabs want them, the Europeans want them, and the Chinese want them. The Chinese have built this airship, which suspiciously resembles our Russian AU-30. They have conducted flight tests and have now ordered a series of 10 such airships. This is exactly the same model as what the Germans are currently doing with their new Zeppelin. There were 15 people who conditionally joined him for about an hour of some kind of tour, and the group changed. China has now ordered approximately 10 airships to use them in a similar model, and of course to find a way to commercialize them currently in order to. The French promised to build a large solar airship, also for tourism, which will have a large area covered with solar panels and will be powered solely by electric motors. This is their green agenda. Well done. Tourist. The English are making their airlanders. It's quite a controversial project regarding its dynamics and other aspects. It seems that they have also found an investor for the production of a number of such devices to travel from England to the North Pole and back. And there the ticket price is approximately $200,000 per person. They have surely already found an audience that will allow them to recoup all the construction costs, but again there's tourism. Small airships are already being used in Africa. This is precisely an airship, a drone for delivering medications and other supplies to hard-to-reach places. They conducted the first tests. The tests were successful. They found an investor who financed it. They have found a company that deals with pharmaceuticals, which has allocated funds for the logistics of this apparatus, rather than looking for an investor. But we haven't seen the financial reports yet, so we don't know how profitable it is for them, and so on. It's clear that drone cargo transportation has already been launched in some European country, but there it's a small drone, just a toy, as the airship operators call it, only able to fly in sunny weather and calm conditions. It can reach some destination, but with even a slight wind to the right or left, it won't go anywhere. In some European country, I don't remember exactly which one, they have launched a toroidal aerostatic device. In general, all airships are simply aerostatic devices. For example, aircraft. A dirigible simply means it is controlled. If you let go of a balloon over a corner, it rises uncontrollably. That is a free balloon. If you attach an engine to it, it can already maneuver. This is an airship, a conductor that is controlled. And such a controlled device was created by the Tsarist Europeans for the purpose of monitoring power lines. For now it is somewhat controlled by them, but it is moving in that direction. And overall, in general, for the most part, tourism basically, to sum it up.
Well, yes, tourism. We were also looking into it in Kenya. What you mentioned about the flying clinic is actually not such a fantastical idea, because there is already an airship in Kenya that delivers medications, if I'm not mistaken, and it's unmanned. Therefore, in medicine, there are certainly many applications as well. And it seems that, indeed, when technologies allow, some direction begins to develop worldwide, and airships are clearly that direction right now, because it feels like everyone suddenly realized it around the same time and started making them, including in Russia. The Russian government has issued a directive stating that this topic needs to be developed here with us, right?
Yes, there have already been several notable and significant attempts in modern Russia to build airships, which I consider to be successful within certain limits, of course. These attempts have shown promise and potential for future development. This is what Alexander Kirill was building in airships, and the company Augur was involved, with models like AU-11, 12, 30, and others, and while this movement was taking shape. While they were doing all of this, some regulatory documents, some acts, something about airships in general, started to emerge in the government. And so, as I was told, that very foundation that was once laid there has now come to fruition. In other words, they have reached a certain list in their to-do items. There is a bookmark there, like, just to find out if we can make airships. And since it is already there, yes, a government order has been issued to provide or establish regulations. In general, I don't understand these government documents. But the essence is that by the end of this year, the government essentially expects to receive a number of various proposals regarding the airship industry, or even if it's not an industry, at least something related to airships. This will be one device, there will be a series of devices, but what are they needed for? What tasks will they perform? Or is there an introduction to an entire industry right away? The projects simply say, okay, there is a task, we are open, but naturally they have sized it up. It ranges from approximately 30 to 200 tons, along with further commentary in the development of our northern Arctic direction. They are currently just waiting to see who will propose what now.
So moving on to us. Well, what do we want to propose? In general, indeed, seeing that in fact, as a matter of fact, there is highly interest in airship themes is really high. And recognizing that there are many brilliant minds in Russia who not only want to build airships, there are quite a few of those, but also those who have actually built them, who have achieved results with patents and technologies, it became clear that yes, there are all chances to truly become leaders not only in the Russian market, but also to compete with those giants around worldwide markets, globally speaking, who, well, at least when it comes down specifically terms money spent, often large companies, and we can compete successfully against all such competitors. And indeed, it's not just about what we can do. We are doing it, and there are every chance to become number one in this.
To struggle, to compete and thrive, Pasha, like a judo practitioner. Yes, we need to build this wonderful, bright future together. Because although airships were once used in war, they are unlikely to be military now, as wars have long since passed. This is already peaceful transportation, and with colleagues there needs to be a healthy competition, but at the same time...
Competition, yes?
Yes, collaboration. In collaboration.
Yes, and indeed, as a result, seeing that everything is in place to develop this direction. The innovative project Next Generation Airships was created, within which a company called NOVA was established. We are currently in the office of this cutting-edge company right now. And let's talk in detail about what we will be doing specifically in the direction of airships and also how we plan to earn money from it. Because each of you can receive a part of this company. Let me outline the main points, and Fyodor will go into detail.
I wanted to first talk a bit about the thesis, that it's clear what's being created. You say like, here we organized it, but we organized it with the help of crowdfunding. I also wanted to point out that crowdfunding and airships are indeed a historical theme. It turns out that a very large number of airships were funded through contributions. In Germany they contributed to them, and in England they contributed to them, and even back then, 100 years ago, in the Soviet Union, they contributed to them as well. They gathered for not just one, but for a whole 2 airships. For people, it seems that the fate of airships is such that we need to gather as a community and finally lift the airship into the sky. And we relied, not only on the fact that there are real historical facts, but also that the people want to contribute. Overall, there are a lot of internet queries about what an airship is and where airships have gone, with hundreds of thousands each month just in the Russian-speaking part of the internet. The number of views on the videos is incredible, but where have all the airships gone? Overall, we can confidently say that a couple of months have passed since the project started, and there is a very lively interest from everyone, both from the general public and from specialists working in the aviation industry and related fields. It was as if everyone was just sitting there waiting, sleeping. Airships. Exactly. And so many proposals, so much in general. So yes, and that's why crowdfunding seems to be a historical fate, apparently. But not only fate, but also statistics show that everyone is very interested and would like to see them.
Yes, and I know about 2 such crowdfunding projects, both of which were successful. One is Zeppelin in Germany, and the other is Komsomolskaya Pravda on the airship in the Soviet Union. So it turns out we will be the 3rd successful one.
It's not the 3rd one, if you count. It's somewhere around the 5th.
I know about 3 and 2 besides us. Apparently people want airships to exist, and that means it will happen. Now we can even make money from this. Speaking about what is created in the company, what an airship company is, a company that will manufacture these flying vehicles, it is clear that these are people, first and foremost people. The team is currently gathering, and the core group is already in place. Every day, work is ongoing here in the office. We started the webinars and people began to leave, perhaps so as not to disturb us. Since we started at 5 last time, people quietly passed by and tried not to make noise. Therefore, the work is going very productively. Very soon we will provide you with a tour of our office and show you absolutely everything. In general, this office and the people here are essentially the core design bureau, the very first point. This is the place where the airships will be meticulously designed and developed. In addition, the acquisition of land is planned, and now Fyodor Konstantinov will discuss what other options are available for the site where 2 hangars will be located, as well as their maintenance. This is our own production facility where various critical components will be developed, so to speak, in order not to transfer the entire technology to some contractors, because certain parts can be designed and manufactured in other locations. This is a school where pilots and others will be trained, as well as external business projects. This means that this design bureau will be able to work not only on its own airships, but also to develop unique, specific airships tailored to the client's needs. This is a direction that this enterprise will already be able to pursue. We are talking about a 3 to 5 year perspective, specifically what we plan to do within the framework of the current project and the current budget, which we will also discuss. However, we already see the company 10 years ahead, and we will show you all of this now. Fyodor, let's go into more detail. Here is the design bureau, the first such puzzle we have. What is happening here right now? In general, we are indeed in that very design bureau. What will happen next?
Yes, we created this presentation quite some time ago, and the project is evolving. It is confidently moving towards the first stage, while the 0 stage is the pre-launch phase. Therefore, we mentioned that some things may change, and the presentation even more so. In general, the term Design Bureau is a good one, and the Design Bureau will be formed and is already being formed. But overall, we are forming a management company that will include a Design Bureau. The core of this holding is being established in this office. It is clearly understood that a core team is being formed in this office. The backbone of this holding includes not only designers but also others. Financial part, commercial part, production part, and design part, as well as the design team is an expert council, similar to a scientific and technical advisory group. They have come up with ideas, or you have them. Then we will tell you a bit more in detail. In general, initially, the office here will be established as the head enterprise, or so it can be called, from where the management of the development will be conducted. It is clear that some developments will also take place here, particularly in the formation of a full-fledged design bureau within this entire holding. Well, it will take time. We currently have a list of specialists who are exclusively related to the design and functionality of the design bureau. There are already approximately about 15 people there, just so you fully understand. The previous company that made the AU-30 had a core team of 10 in order to... Yes, I mean, literally everything else is contractors, and once again contractors. And everything is working. In general, the main framework for the designers has been formed. The production has been established. We are shaping the commercial aspect. And for the financial part, well, for now, it's solar. Yes, and in approximately 3 years, we need to not only establish a design bureau, but also create the entire holding company that will encompass the management of not just the design bureau, but many various areas, from design to operation, and there are about 10 different functions that need to be performed. This should include 10 directions within this holding company, all of which must be controlled and managed. So conditionally, a design bureau is being formed where the project will be developed, as Pavel Filippov showed here, again referring to the old presentation. For now, without any references to it being old, I will explain what will happen. On Monday, we will hold a scientific and technical council where the first appearance of the device will be presented. Inside this company, a scientific and technical council will take place, where one design of the device will be presented. Its details are already available. Already that product, so to speak, indeed, of the intellectual activity within the project. We talked earlier about the presentation of the old developments. They are more or less the same and will be, but now we are making clarifications and so on. As soon as we have the Scientific and Technical Council on Monday, if everything is unanimous, we will be able to show something there. If there are revisions to the project, then everything will be pushed to the right, but this will be relative to the first device, which is indicated here as a 2-tonner. It is stated that we will produce 2, but in reality we can produce more. However, it is enough for us to make the first device in a year, maybe even faster. It will be made in a fully unmanned version. We have already come to this conclusion. We will approve this at the Scientific and Technical Council. That's it. There will indeed be some kind of gondola here, and it will be swappable, either optionally piloted, fully unmanned, or unmanned cargo, or optionally piloted cargo. In general, all these little things will change, but the most important question is, what is this project all about? It is the fastest, most quickly implementable, and most cost-effective demonstrator of our capabilities, primarily showcasing not even design capabilities, but organizational ones. What we were proven over 100 years ago, even more, is that an airship can be designed and lifted into the air. Now, the question from our team is that we are demonstrating what you see, even to ourselves. We organized ourselves, we built the device, it took us a year, it required a specific amount of energy, money, and so on. But it is not just about proving that we have ascended into the sky. There is already a clear commercial application for it. In the same unmanned mode, it will be able to perform tasks such as cargo transportation like a drone, and monitoring tasks as well. All of this is currently being developed as part of its technical specifications. The technical characteristics are being integrated into it. On Monday, there will be a council meeting, and after the meeting, we will clarify the presentation. But the device is indeed being built, again, not as a one-off. Processes are being structured in such a way that it can all be produced in series. And the second device, which is commonly referred to here as a 10-tonner, known as the next generation of devices. This is the next one that we will start producing after this first device. It will be more advanced. So, if we are currently planning for between 500 kilograms and 1.5 tons, it was also indicated here as 2, that's also a bit there. Well, in general, the next 10 tons is already a very serious apparatus. This is a solid scheme. These are already somewhat different timelines, which naturally involve different costs, a different level of responsibility, and of course a different price for the apparatus and the services it can provide. This is the next step. The Scientific and Technical Council regarding its technical specifications, external appearance, layout, and so on, I think will take place closer to the new year, maybe even a little after the new year. However, within the framework of this project, the construction of these vehicles is planned, and we are already determining their exact appearance, characteristics, and so on. For this, it will definitely be necessary to produce an E-link, because we also plan to produce an E-link for the first vehicle. But we thought, of course, why not slightly reduce its size so that it can fit into standard aviation hangars, which are available everywhere with doors measuring 12 by 12 meters, in order to avoid investing in construction at the initial stages and to spend the project's funds more efficiently. It's not about spending, but about investing, of course. Although if you invest in construction, you won't go wrong. But we are investing in the sky, and we definitely won't fail. We made a smaller device, and this presentation will be about 2 hangars. To shorten the timeline from 3 to 5 years, we initially planned to launch the first device at the very beginning of the project in 3 years, but this was also dependent on the construction of the hangar. Now we have reduced this to 1 year. The first device will take off in a year, and it actually doesn't need a hangar. However, a serious hangar will need to be built for the second device, and we will discuss that a bit later. For it, we will need land.
Yes, here is the land, the hangars. And in the hangars, how will it look? What exactly will happen with them?
A hangar is not in reality a garage for storing airships, although it can be used as such. All airships will be built with free outdoor storage, just like airplanes and helicopters can be parked comfortably. It's clear some covers need put on the blades, and there are other things to consider. Overall, it's about outdoor storage, and the airships will be designed exactly like this. The hangar is, for the most part, an assembly shop. And there is a place for maintenance where the airship is brought in, just like a car. It has a certain cycle when something needs to be checked, something replaced, and sometimes even something repaired. That is to say, for the most part, the hangar is from the assembly shop where all the components arrive, and from these components, the airship is born. After that, it can be free and hang out on the street, but it will still have to periodically return to the hangar, and this hangar needs to be built. There are, of course, existing hangars, but for a huge apparatus, and I already consider a 10-ton airship to be huge, even though it is not super huge like the 200-ton ones. However, in everyday terms, just looking at the apparatus and saying whether it is small or not, a 10-ton airship is already not small. Of course, it can definitely be used. There are workshop facilities, I believe, I don't remember what the factory was called, constructed in Krasnoyarsk, where they were setting up production to create these watercraft that move on rivers and seas, and there are huge gates, and the workshop itself is enormous. Theoretically, it is even possible to assemble it. We found such an option. We hadn't seen it as a whole before. It is possible to assemble a large device there. But still, certainly the construction of one's own hangar is an assembly technology. It will either adapt to something existing or we will create an optimal series. Of course, the choice for the optimal series should be made in the flight field and then into the river. An airship can also be introduced into the river, but it is unlikely that we will be practicing with the other hangars for river deployment. So it is necessary to build your own hangar, and he will of course build it. This is also about the capitalization of the company, which is all it's on which land, a question, it will be built. And here Pavel Filippov said that there are several options, and indeed there are a few options, but for the universe, as always, there is only one, the one that will be. All the others are illusions. Yes, you can buy land designated for agricultural use, and it will take a long time to re-register it and turn it into an airship drome. One can approach someone who already has their own aerograd and is willing to collaborate by renting out, for example, a small area, or rather a large one, for a hangar, of course, so that we can set up the hangar there. We can potentially negotiate with another aerograd to enter into a partnership, somewhat like a co-foundership, and this land will conditionally become the land of the project, where we can build a hangar. You can buy a ready-made aerograd. Such options are also available with a runway, even with hangars that would be suitable for the construction of the first airship. And so we have not yet fully examined all the proposals in order to make any management decision about where we will move next, but it makes sense for it to be our own. We need to thoroughly and carefully consider all the detailed proposals before deciding on our next steps. That is, if it is purchased, first of all, it does not decrease in value but only appreciates when money is invested and something happens on the property. However, when it belongs to someone else, risks arise, especially if it is rented or even in partnership with someone. So the land is absolutely needed. The land is very important. What it will be like, time will tell.
School of production.
The school, yes, indeed, it's a very good direction. Very important and extremely significant and crucial. Moreover, it's not just about training pilots. Even those who train pilots need to be trained as well. Technicians also need to be trained. In general, a large number of personnel is typically required to operate the significant airships. If we are to sell the airships, then we need to train the staff. In other words, a school is essential for us. Without a school, we won't make any progress. And it will be organized. There is already a proposal from the recently established school. And by the way, not only from it. There is a proposal to create something based on them. In general, when schools learned that we were planning to build airships as well, they became excited and expressed a desire to train airship pilots. Moreover, based on feedback from people about where to go to find a job, a school will also be established as part of the project. It will also be included in this holding, and it could even operate as a separate business unit, because training people needs to be a continuous process. They need to be trained not only for themselves, but also for someone else. So you can even earn money at the school. And the school will be organized. Most likely, active movements regarding the school will begin around the time of the first airship's launch. Conditionally, we have just under a year left to start active work on the school, including the development of methods, methodologies, and other related aspects. We are currently holding a scientific and technical council, the first third iteration. This is 1 to 3 iterations. We are coordinating the first device, and from this moment on we have an understanding of what is needed for the first device, who will be required, in what quantity, and so on. And it's already possible to prepare. Materials for the school? I just thought about it now. It's time to call them. It is unlikely that a full-fledged factory will be built as part of the project. We will start with the foundation and then build the factory. The production here is largely about thoroughly mastering certain technological processes and techniques, whether it involves soldering materials in various ways or the shell. Even programming the control system conditionally falls under, such as and other related tasks and other similar tasks. This is the concept of production that we have put into this. In general, these are some critical technological processes without which no one will be able to replicate what we will be doing. Because we will be working in cooperation, we do not need to build a factory. Factories already exist in the country and not only in ours. It is possible to create an airship through broad cooperation. But if we do not leave behind any technologies or processes, then nothing prevents others from asking to do the same through that cooperation, simply checking a box to bypass patents, intellectual property, and so on. In that sense, indeed, yes, production will be established. As long as we have space in the vast, boundless, and mysterious universe, we always have a partner. One of the leaders of the project, who is well known, highly respected, and highly skilled, is Ruslan. Ruslan will be responsible for mastering production, its further localization, serial production, and more. Ruslan already has his own facilities, and he also has the technologies and a certain machine park, of course. It can expand a bit because the task is still unique. Previously it worked conditionally with another, but now it can already be done based on that. So there definitely won't be any significant capital investments here, but owning the technology itself is like intellectual property. And
it turns out there are clients. We also talked about clients, that this company, in the perspective of several years, besides what you mentioned, will be able to take on external orders as well. For example, some state corporation might reach out and say that there is a certain task, a specific airship is needed, and there will be the opportunity to design such an airship for them, set up production, and everything else.
in the next 3 to 5 years, similar clients will definitely emerge, because as soon as we launch the demonstrator into the air next year, the experience of past years and common sense suggests that if someone needs airships, they will likely turn to those who know how to get them airborne. If we achieve this, it will be us. There is an understanding of who might come and with what orders. However, it is still too early to talk about this, of course. We plan the project for 3 to 5 years, which involves a certain amount of funding and specific timelines, even related to obtaining the certificate and license for this device and we will be able to lift it within a year. After just a bit more time, we will receive the experimental first one for the leader. That is, he can already conditionally demonstrate some commercial applicability based on this license. However, obtaining a type certificate in order to produce it in series is still quite a cumbersome procedure, which can take a year or even 3. The perspective of 3 to 5 years refers to the fact that the device already has a type certificate, is being produced in series, and generates commercial profit from its operation or sale. Therefore, the project is set for 3 to 5 years, but the client may come earlier after the demonstration. To pay, he will say, "Okay guys, you made a device with such characteristics, I need it to be twice as big or 1.5 times smaller, but 1.5 times smaller is illogical. Most likely, a larger one will be needed." The client pays for this development, and as a result, you as crowd investors already have some profit from this.
We are currently in the process of discussing the creation and establishment of the parent company. So any and all money that this company earns, regardless of how exactly it earns it, will also be the earnings of the investors. Any parent companies that will be created within the same group of companies or holding will still be established by the company NOVA still. And now I am showing the next slide, which presents the prospects for the next 5 to 10 years. You can see that there are more airships and significantly more devices. What does this indicate? The first task now is to initially create a company that will start making money and that will ultimately be sustainable in the long run, and that will not depend on external financial support or investments. Investors are also earning. We must move forward, and we understand where to go next, what types of devices can be developed. However, this will either be done using the profits that will be generated or through additional financing, which is normal for business. But this will no longer be within the framework of the parent company. The company will not constantly attract additional funds. These will be specifically subsidiary companies. For example, such a subsidiary company may focus on stratospheric airships. We didn't talk about them today. Can you tell us what these devices are that are also planned to be made, and perhaps specifically about the stratospheric ones that many are interested in?
Well, yes, about all the various devices, about the stratosphere. For the 2 initial types of devices that will be created, we plan that the system, the entire business, will reach self-sustainability within 3 to 5 years, given certain suitable variables within our framework. It's about their serial production, applicability, and some advertising for them, not just the sale of tons and kilometers, but also specific services, such as the design of specialized equipment for other clients. The project is already on track and moving forward. But moving forward, yes, the development of airships at 10 tons is probably just beginning. This is really a little one. Everyone definitely agrees that the next stage needs to be built. 20 is an intermediate step, 40 is good, and 200 is ideal. There are already more than 200 questions about whether it is worth getting involved. However, airships have a mathematical feature. The larger they are, the more efficient and economical they become. And the market definitely needs it even more on one hand. On the other hand, if one such device is built, it will probably find some application. Building 4 such massive 200-ton airships, each designed for specific purposes, will likely exhaust all their potential applications on the planet. But if you build 100 of these devices, the economic climate on the planet will indeed already begin to change significantly. There are these bloggers, and many analysts agree that it is possible to essentially create a new Silk Road, build 100 of these 200-ton vessels, establish the right route that aligns with wind currents and other factors, and you will become the richest person on the planet, or a company, or a group of individuals. And this is what we should strive for, of course, because setting a goal to build one device does not establish an industry. It does not create something grand and enormous. And so for this reason, it is obviously foolish to immediately create a 200-ton airship after building a demonstrator weighing 500 kilograms to a ton. Therefore, there is a step-by-step strategy in place. It may change. Again, we are at the 0 stage in pre-launch, and we are currently only holding a scientific and technical council for the first device. The steps may change, meaning it could be 1020 or maybe 1040, but then 100, not 200 right away. But here, the logic is that it will be carried out progressively. Some devices will go into production, for example, 10-ton models, because we have studied the market and understood that there is already a logistical market structure in place for them to integrate into. Here is a 20-ton airship and a 40-ton airship. They can serve as tourist airships, and it is not certain that they need to be produced in series. Perhaps these will be unique devices, tailored for specific countries and their needs. If a country there expressed a need and said, "I specifically need this type," then they are being developed for them. These are exactly the clients who are on the sidelines. If the other side wants it, there can be a comprehensive and detailed custom design with distinctive and unique characteristics tailored for summer, winter, different altitudes, and so forth and so on. In general, everything will be different, but it is unlikely to be a device that is mass-produced in large quantities like watches. The first device will be like a watch, and that size will come. We will find that economic golden mean, where a large device will also need to be produced like a watch. Most likely these will be standardized containers on which all our logistics are based. How many of them there will be is something time will tell. But the model should evolve towards this. And then comes the stratosphere. More precisely, the stratosphere begins with the very first device and continues through all these devices into its own separate niche. To conquer, to really indeed perhaps conquer, is that truly perhaps indeed a good word? In general, the goal is to ascend into the atmosphere and start conducting some useful, naturally commercial work there. This is the dream of many companies. Because we have already mastered the air, with helicopters, airplanes, and drones. We have already conquered space, with thousands of satellites flying and orbiting there. However, we hardly use the intermediate layer, the stratosphere. Yes, there are weather balloons that are constantly launched there. They are single-use and mainly study the winds and other phenomena. Yes, there were programs for long-lasting stratospheric balloons, the same Google Loom, and various Soviet programs. There were all sorts of them. But this is all just a little bit different from what we are talking about here. And, by the way, you might have seen online recently, well, the Americans have launched a capsule into the stratosphere. It carries tourists up. It's like a stratospheric elevator. You went up there, looked at the Earth and at the black cosmos above. Then you somehow descended, most likely by parachute. Although maybe the gas is released first, then the parachutes. There hasn't been any detailed information on that yet. This is the next step after the probes that have already been developed. The next step that everyone will reach is similar large devices, like a tourist station, but already controlled. If the flight here is uncontrolled, meaning it ascends and descends on its own, then rising into the atmosphere, or more precisely into the stratosphere, and hovering there is a very attractive direction. From the perspective of Earth probing, they study it in terms of communication, internet distribution, and various applications. It is much cheaper to do the same thing through the air than through space, and it's more practical. You can lower this device, replace the equipment, perform technical maintenance, and raise it back up. And if it's about space, you need to assemble a new satellite, put it in a rocket, but the orbit is already occupied somehow. Come up with a way for it to fly there without overlapping with that. Elon Musk's rockets are reusable while everyone else's are single-use. In general, it's very expensive. And there is little talk about stratospheric airships specifically, because this is likely an economic gamble altogether. It's somewhat similar to 200-ton vessels with their Silk Road. And we are moving forward, and we have been doing so since yesterday. Well, yesterday, and the week, the month. We already understand that we have transitioned to the Scientific and Technical Council for the first device. We have actually completed the council for the development of such stratospheric research, because everything starts again. With gaining experience, with research, with testing the equipment, and so on. This is for the first 6 months in the stratosphere. That's it, we have already launched this. I have definitely promised you several times that we will very soon start showing you all of this. Actually, well, the better we prepare, the better we will progress, naturally. And here, haste is unnecessary. I might be a bit too cheerful about some things. Well, it's actually a really cool topic to launch something into the stratosphere. And for me, as someone from the space industry, I'm very interested in this, and I can confidently say that we will definitely launch something by the end of September. And it will be like this, because it excites me, and I want to be involved in it. But overall, discipline and order are still the top priority. So yes, the deadlines are shifting a bit, but everything will start very soon. Of course, the stratospheric airship is comparable to a 40-ton vehicle, which you can see. And the hangar for them can be the same, whether for 40 tons at ground level or, God willing, for 2 tons in the stratosphere, because the difference in air density at ground level is clear. It is dense. There, it is less dense, and lifting the same volume here will be much more than there. However, in general, even for a 40-ton airship, part of the nodes and assemblies will be developed as for stratospheric use. It will just be lighter, carrying less weight. Yes, but they will use the same hangar. And by the time we reach 40 tons, I firmly believe the technical specifications and the overall appearance and design of the highly advanced stratospheric vehicle will already be established. The question remains, when will they actually take off? If our first demonstrator takes off in approximately a year, then in about a month, these stratospheric small probes will take off. Maybe even earlier. The stratospheric long-duration probes will take off first, before the new year. As for the stratospheric airship, the outlook is probably around approximately about 6 years before the first flight, but it will already be a completely different level of science and technology. Overall, the launch of the first stratospheric airship will elevate both the company's capitalization and its presence in the stratosphere. So in perhaps just 6 years, we might all fly away from the stratosphere.
Well, accordingly, yes, this business. Being created is something that people can participate in now. Moreover, the more actively I support the project, the faster everything you are currently talking about will be realized.
A very smooth introduction indeed.
Naturally, everything is done through crowdfunding. At this stage, there are no plans to attract large capital. It is clearly stated here that clients can invest in the construction of unique devices, such as airships for tourism or for their specific business, and other innovative solutions. Plus, significant additional money will also be directed to the school if the client needs an airship. Oh, by the way, the operating company. This is all logical and clear, but until we gain experience in operating, how can we hand over the airship to someone? So, we will have an operating company within this parent company. In the holding structure, regarding large capital, it is not planned to attract it at all in the initial period. Yes, this is crowdfunding after all, and therefore, yes, it depends on your activity, how quickly we will accomplish all of this. When we lift the first, second, and third airship into the air, we are actually making plans based on the fact of what finances we have received. And we plan accordingly. And while the planning is being done on a budget, if investments come in much more actively, we might shift the timelines to the left and move a bit differently, attracting more specialists and more contractors. In general, everyone understands everything. It's logical. So not only investment, but also a like and a repost will help. So if you are generally in favor of what we are doing, let's get active online at the very least. Please, it's very, very important.
Yes, don't forget about the likes, don't forget about the activity. Remember that right through this link, if you send another one now, they will be able to watch the recording, so send it, let them join, or at least watch the recordings. In order to launch such a project, I have heard multiple times that approximately a relatively substantial amount of $100 million in investments is indeed the sum we need, not just to lift the airship into the air, but also to build a company that can serially produce, operate, and design airships both for itself and external clients. The timeline of 3 to 5 years may be faster in some areas, while in others it will indeed take about 3 years, as some processes require time. However, this is still a more than realistic time frame that we are currently aiming for. The capitalization of the company that we are creating together, of which you can become a co-owner, is currently targeted at $1 billion. This figure is based on the profit that the company will earn within this business model, according to the classic scheme, which evaluates a business by taking 3 years of its profits. However, we have repeatedly stated that this is too conservative an estimate for such a business, because in addition to being profitable, the business is also very vibrant and emotional. Well, you all know that companies that people see potential in are indeed always worth much more than 3 profits. This is 10, this is 20, and there are even companies that are worth 30, 50 times their annual profits. Therefore, here we are guided by the most conservative scenario. However, even such a scenario allows for increasing the investments you make today at the pre-launch stage by at least 10 times. Therefore, even under such a conservative scenario, this project will provide an opportunity for anyone, even those who do not invest large sums, to earn money. The company Nova, yes, this is the very company that is implementing the project. 49% of this company is allocated to all those investors who will support the project. Well, accordingly, depending on how much you put in as an investment, that share will in total belong to you. It is planned that the company will be new after it becomes a joint stock company. This will happen after the project finishes attracting funding, issues 1 billion shares, and now SOLARGROUP in turn is issuing 50 billion shares that you can acquire. It is indeed shares that you are acquiring today, shares of the company SOLARGROUP, and then you will exchange these shares for stocks of the company Nova. The company SOLARGROUP, whose shares you are acquiring, is in turn a 49% co-founder of the new company. Technically, this is not yet the case, but it will happen very soon. This is also an organizational moment. Everything will definitely happen. And accordingly, this serves as a guarantee to investors that they are indeed acquiring a part of the SOLARGROUP company. They truly own the new company through this investment. Well, when the shares are available, you will be able to own the company directly. Please note that today you are purchasing shares of the SOLARGROUP company, and shares are not acquired one by one, not 2, not 3. You can purchase them in bulk, so to speak. Here we call it an investment package. You can take a share package, such as, for example, for $2,000. And in this $2,000 package, there will be a certain number of shares at a specific price. Moreover, of course, you do not have to invest $2,000 right here and now. You can choose this package, understanding that it is exactly $2,000 you want to invest, and spread their payments over a certain number of months, perhaps such as 6 or 12, for example. In my opinion, a $2,000 package is currently available for installment payments over 30 months. That is, you pay a small amount each month on a regular basis and thereby pay off the entire sum. Why do it this way? Why not just save up $2,000 first and invest right away. It all comes down to the so-called investment conditions, such as namely the stages of financing. Our project is divided into 20 funding stages, and today we are not even at the first funding stage. We are at the 0 stage, the pre-launch stage. At this stage, we are organizing and, so to speak, finalizing the organization of this project, which has been in preparation for the past 3 years. We are doing this before your eyes and already offer you the opportunity to support the financial project. And as you can see, you can already notice that this money is being spent on the needs of the project. At the very least, we are in the office of the company NOVA with each stage of the project. It addresses specific tasks, which moves the project forward, and accordingly brings it closer to its goal. This goal is for the company to, firstly, attract all the necessary investments, and secondly, implement the tasks we discussed, for example, to start producing a particular aircraft. The closer we get to the 20th stage of financing, the fewer risks the project has that something will go wrong or not work out. And with each stage, we change the inflationary conditions. This means that by making the same investment, you receive a smaller number of shares. In other words, investing today is more profitable than investing at the first stage, and investing at the first stage is more profitable than at the second. But there is always such a balance. Yes, you are taking more risks today than those people who will invest, for example, at the 10th stage. More, but at the same time, the so-called venture premium for you is higher. Yes, the conditions are better. What needs to be understood at this very moment is that at the current pre-launch stage, it is important to note that shares are being sold at half the price they will be sold at during the first stage of financing. Currently, the average discount for one share is 1,000, while in the first stage it will be an average of 500. So, if you want airships to appear in the sky as soon as possible in the near future, if you want to become co-owners of this exciting business, and if you know who we are, what we do, and see our incredible results, then now you have the truly unique opportunity to believe in this direction, invest on the best terms that will never be repeated in the project, and become a valued member of this amazing and innovative large business that we will build together with you.
Everyone is asking, when will the phase change?
When is the change of stage? Look, well, let me give you a small announcement. Yes, literally. This information will be available in the coming days. We will have a conference on November 16th. It will definitely take place in Moscow, to which you are all invited, of course. We will be waiting for you. At this conference, we will talk about airships and more, among other things. And it is there at the conference that you will get the answer to this question, so it will happen very soon. You know that the stage is also tied to the amount of funding. Right now, we are aiming for about $1 million. So it is possible that this event will happen, even before the conference. Do you know, people see $1 million is not raised and think, I'll invest tomorrow or later. What difference does it make today or tomorrow? But when the scale is approaching now, people will come to their senses and realize that they might not make it, and in this excitement, the remaining part will close very quickly. So it's better. And then what usually happens? I didn't make it by one day. Please extend it.
So, is it about the amount or the date? If we raise $1 million before the conference, what will happen?
If we gather approximately $1 million before the conference, and if there are indeed no serious plans currently at the Technical Council right now, we can change it before then. You just know how it is. It might not happen day by day. Maybe we'll give it another week, for example, for those who... In fact, the 0 stage is a big uncertainty.
I believe that it is not about the amount or the date, but rather about holding the scientific and technical council. The fact that we have agreed on the technical appearance is, indeed, on one hand, the first device. The organizational aspects regarding the formation of the legal structure and the entire staff composition have been finalized. That is, when we have already packed up and realized that this is it, this is us, and we are going here. Essentially, this presentation has definitely been revised. Essentially, the zero preparatory stage is complete. We can also add the creation of a brand here. Because for now we are neither here nor there, but a state-owned company should have its own brand. Although that's a different matter. The matter, in fact, is not necessarily essential on one hand, and on the other hand, right now, there is a buzz starting, and this is also the case in our country, and recognition is needed because, well, it's clear that creating a device that has taken to the air, it doesn't matter if nothing is drawn on it. We are just moving in that direction. But still, it's a step that is not mandatory, but important. Most very likely, these first two are a sign that the initial stage has been completed.
I think that branding is important too, because at the initial stage, the subtitle editor N. Zakomoldina allows clients to immediately take advantage of this branding, the website, and anything else. But it also relates to the packaging of the project, because most of the information is obtained now. However, branding does not eliminate any risks, but the team, the decision, and the office are already ready. Yes, I agree. Well, and the marketing plan, friends. Don't forget that if you participated in the Sovolmash project, if you are a partner, then here we have fulfilled all the obligations that partners often asked us about. Our partnership structures have been maintained, so you can continue to work within your partnership program. But please be aware that in order to successfully receive referral rewards from those investors who registered in the Sovolmash project, you need to take into consideration and fulfill a minor marketing plan. Here it is displayed on your screen now. You need to satisfy two, let's say, a few mandatory conditions and one optional condition. And please note that this only concerns those important investors who were registered in our personal account before August 7th. If people are currently registering in your structure, you receive the full referral reward for investments in the state-of-the-art project and for investments in the Sovolmash project. There are no restrictions here. And if you simply want to use your old structure, you perhaps need to implement a small marketing plan. On the other hand, for those partners with large structures, it is quite simple to perform such a straightforward action. In order to continue receiving referral rewards, currently, old investors are very actively investing in the new project. I believe these conditions are not complicated at all.
It's not surprising new investors are happily investing in old projects.
Yes, and regarding the question of what some believe that only from the old project will new people invest, but now we see the opposite situation. Yes, by promoting the project of the new generation of airships, we are helping to finance the Sovolmash project. Therefore, SOLARGROUP is indeed an investment platform where projects complement each other and help each other grow. I won't mention that the engines from the company Sovolmash could be used on our flying machines. Therefore, the symbiosis and connection here are quite obvious. Friends, today we basically told you about what the company NOVA will represent, what the project of the new generation state is, why we got involved in this, how we will make money from it, and we explained how you can earn from it as well. So, if you are truly interested in developing innovative technologies with us, if you want to fly in your own airship of Russian design that has come to life thanks to you, and of course, if you want to become co-owners of a profitable business, we invite you on this very exciting journey that we are just beginning, indeed, and I am sure that together with you, we will definitely succeed. So support the project, as Fyodor has already said. Support it not only with money, but also with likes and shares right now. Add a bit of engagement and activity. All of this will help us launch the airship as quickly as possible. Now let's move on to the questions.
There are actually no questions on vContact. There are just acquaintances. We answered something while we were talking. They asked about Bureau 1440. I heard something, but I don't remember. Overall, there are no questions.
Now let's open it. From the computer? Maybe it will be visible from the computer because the phone is there.
And take a look on YouTube.
So, right now we are looking at questions in the vContact group. We are checking questions on YouTube, so you can write both here and there. Now we will be flipping through the pages of this fascinating book as we explore in detail. So yes. By the way, regarding the time, yes, I was asking you, I see people writing 19 hours, 19 hours. Someone suggested that it would be better to come at 17 to start looking, as it might allow for more daylight and less rush, but we conducted a comprehensive survey in the group to gather everyone's opinions. The most responses were for 19, although not by much, indicating a slight preference for a later start, possibly due to work schedules or other commitments. The options available for consideration are 17s, 18s, and 19s. This is the most convenient time period for the majority, as it accommodates various personal schedules and preferences, ensuring that everyone can participate comfortably.
The question just came up. Will there be a secret guest? In fact, there are already several secret guests. At least 3, at least. These are very secret, cool guests who will indeed definitely show up. Yes, certainly, if I were to answer in a brief manner. Otherwise, the team is growing. We need to get to know everyone, and gradually we will establish this work. We will put it on the rails by Friday, and we will invite everyone to come and get acquainted. People will share what functions they cover and what they are engaged in.
This Friday. Let us consider for a moment. Here's a thought-provoking question as well. What guarantees are there for the return of money? Victor, well, look, of course, when investing in a business, it's unlikely that anyone will guarantee that this business will definitely succeed. There are always risks. We are talking about venture capital, we are talking about investments in a startup company, which of course carries risks and the potential for high returns. Here I think everyone understands perfectly what they are participating in. The main question here is, what is it about? Are you ready to truly believe that airships will indeed actually be certainly and commercially successful? Are you ready to believe that this team can actually do it? And I can tell you and promise you that probably the most important thing here is indeed just one. The money will not be stolen, the money will not be embezzled from all investors. The investment agreements are in place, and you can review the contract to understand the, let's say, terms on which you are transferring funds to the project. The money will be spent on necessary projects. Yes, of course, necessary projects include some marketing expenses, for example, conducting a webinar like this, which also costs a certain amount of money. But marketing expenses pay off, that we already know for sure. And the best way to see that the money will be used specifically for creating this business is that you will see the progress. As you can see, there is an office, people are working, some are already receiving salaries, and the processes are underway. So I can definitely guarantee you that will what we are doing succeed? Yes. It will succeed.
No airship company has ever been unprofitable. They are based on some mythical... The scenarios collapsed, of course, but all the companies were profitable, starting from those a century ago and ending with modern companies. The same German company operates only 2 to 3 airships, lives in luxury, sells 1 airship every 5 years, and they have plenty of money. And even if we do not intend to stop here. But even if something happens and our business ends up in some tourist sector, not operating a small number of devices, it will still pay off very quickly. And the profit from this money that will be paid to us is already our 100% guarantee. The business definitely guarantees that it is profitable. The airship is the most profitable business. Over the many years, our dedicated team has consistently demonstrated that we always follow through on our promises and commitments, ensuring reliability and trust. No one is absolutely taking anything away. Yes, positively indeed, certainly, without a doubt. I am just trying to understand what the guarantees are in percentage terms. Well, probably 99. That they will succeed now.
Yes, yes. And regarding the question that there is absolutely no one in the team who doubts that this success will happen. And as Fyodor said, indeed those companies that have just a couple of airships are already earning hundreds of millions of euros a year. Well, having at least a dozen airships, or even more, would be sufficient enough to earn a living. The question is, what goals do we set for ourselves? The goals, of course, are much more ambitious.
Of course, all legal guarantees will be in place. The entire legal structure has practically been finalized. As an investor in this project, you will have the assurance that according to the list of agreements, contracts, and other documents, your money has gone where it should. If she went there, she will definitely come back when it becomes profitable. And the fact that it will be profitable is backed by statistics, historical facts, and our future.
What think about the central bank's rule? Investments can only be attracted with a central bank license. How will this affect us if we promote airships? Look, many people are confused. The law has been passed. In fact, it is not a law that has been passed, but an initiative pending adoption. That's the first point. Secondly, this cannot affect the investors in any way because the investors are not attracting any investments. If we talk about the legal aspect, even our partners do not even attract investments. According to our partnership agreement, clients are attracted to the website. Yes, there may be a minor trick to it, but we initially designed the legal model to be, in fact, as universal as possible and suitable for the majority of the countries in which we operate. This is indeed precisely the very question of why SOLARGROUP is an offshore company not located in Russia. Because during the time we have been working, so many laws regarding investments have come out that he will probably end his activities right at the very beginning if you try to specifically adapt to all these laws. Therefore, we take a universal scheme. It is legal, it is lawful, and it allows us to operate while feeling perhaps a bit more free than those companies that are trying to completely come under the control of the central bank. So, everything will be fine here. But if a law comes out, if there are requirements that only a certain license is acceptable, we will get the license. So what do we have left? We will comply with the legislation, as that is what is required of us.
Yes, it is indeed actually not difficult to obtain a license from the central bank for crowdfunding. Our partners and colleagues have done this. There are certain limitations, but overall, there is experience, yes. And as Pasha said, if there is a need, everything will be done quickly.
Well, as you might already be aware, there are indeed more questions on YouTube, so let's move on to them now. So, when is the transition to the first stage planned? We talked about this today. So, for whom? There were some questions, and then it seemed to just slip away. That's it. I'm just silent because people are messaging each other, and I can't understand whether the questions are directed at us or at them.
Yes, it's indeed actually quite a very strange and remarkable activity. Guys, well done.
By the way, I'm asking about the market analysis. As far as I know, the market analysis is currently in progress. Are these being finalized?
We have selected a comprehensive list of analytical reports that we are ready to purchase. Simply put, there is no analysis of the airship market because there is no market. It is essential to approach this matter very carefully, analyzing the logistics chains and turnover. In other words, in essence, to delve a little deeper and, so to speak, explore further into this area. There are people who have taken this up. They are already somewhat involved in it. Will we pay for these reports? And will we see them? Naturally we should. The question is when. For the creation of the first demonstrator, it is not necessary. But when we start shaping the technical appearance of the second device, these new reports will naturally include more detailed analytics for a more precise aim, so to speak, because it will be a serial production model and larger. Well, yes, they will be acquired. We'll see. We'll study. We might even order some research. Although we will commence research and development within our parent company as well. A separate and dedicated council will take care of this. Plus, yes, acquiring external competencies and their reports and insights a little later.
So I'm looking at the questions right now at the moment.
Waiting for the question mark to appear.
No, I'm reading the correspondence here. There is one hater who has stirred up some trouble.
What is he writing right now?
Any, let's say perhaps maybe possibly a doubting one.
In what? In us. In airships. Strange.
Yes, that's right. There's a very large correspondence here. I'm trying. The question comes from here. So if I invest $1,000, which nominally in my personal account equals $665,000, how can I withdraw the amount in shares, each of which is worth $100? What is the nominal value of the share? Well, you can understand the nominal value of a share by dividing the capitalization by $1 billion. This will give you the nominal value of the share. And accordingly, the same applies if we talk about the nominal value of the stake. You should also divide the number of stakes, or rather divide the number of stakes and shares, and you will understand this ratio. As for the nominal value of the stake itself, it is $1, meaning that Solar Group sells a stake for $1, but there is a discount that we discussed, so there is an opportunity to acquire it at a lower price within the investment package.
I have a mathematical brain freeze, and even I don't fully understand what you just said. It's just the evening, it's already late, and we were working in the sun.
I rely on the fact that people essentially looked at the diagram which illustrated 1 billion shares and 50 billion stakes.
It turns out that 1 billion shares when divided by 50 billion results in a ratio of 1 to 50.
This is an exchange. Take the nominal value of shares, why the shares be issued. If there are 1 billion shares and the company is worth 1 billion, then each share is worth
$1.
Solar Group also sells shares for $1, but at a discount. Regarding branding, I created a logo for you and can send it to you. If you approve and decide to use it, at the very least, you'll take a look. I made it in 2 colors and dedicated some time to it, writes Andre. Andre, please send it over. Of course, we'll take a look. Why not? Even if we might not take it, perhaps one of the partners will use it. Why not?
Let's take a look. Yes. We have a new question regarding branding. The contractors are lined up, and Pasha says we won't spend money on the logo for now, which makes sense.
Yes, in general. Andre, please write in the Telegram chat. There is a link right in the description of this broadcast, this webinar, and we will see everything there.
You can write, yes, just give me your email. I'll send the branding. I'll write my email, and we'll be waiting. Thank you for the offer. It's very nice.
That is, it will not be 1-to-1. The shares will not be 1-to-1. Duyunov once said that patents are needed, among other things, to protect oneself from companies that could use your inventions, patent them, and then sue you. If you are not patented yourself, on the other hand, it was not a question, of course.
Yes, there is such a practice. It's global. You generally cannot patent something that you cannot produce. Conditionally, The same Samsung can patent that the shape of the pixel on its screen will be triangular instead of square. He has the opportunity to make this screen technological, financial, and mental, conditionally. If we build an airship that will fly, and someone who is not connected to the airship at all patents our external designs and so on, and claims that it is theirs, it's clear that there is a lot of absurdity in life, but I think we will figure it out. It's obvious that important critical nodes and technologies will be patented there, and external appearances are quite likely, but I wouldn't get too distracted by that. It's indeed more beneficial to demonstrate the working apparatus than to get caught up in this paperwork, although it will still be necessary.
Here are a few more questions left on the Solar Group channel. The first question is, why is there no priority for the operating company?
What does it mean to have no priority? There is, of course, a priority. As I said, we won't even be able to sell an airship to someone without having utilized our operational experience. Overall, the business will be built around the development of these airships, which can generate significant profit from their sale and their mass production, as well as from their operation. The operation of these airships is extremely profitable. Plus, there is profit from the same training school and from the technical maintenance of the devices. In aviation, there is a rule that each component or unit has a certain number of hours after which it must be replaced, even if it is in perfect condition. This is not about being clever. It's about making substantial money from this. These rules have been established for safety purposes. This is also a very significant part of the earnings. What does it mean that there is no priority for the operating company? The question is somewhat unclear. First, of course, the priority is to create something so that there is something to operate as soon as it appears. But there is also reverse thinking, which has its place, and we approach this from both sides. In general, an operating company is initially formed. She understands that she can occupy a certain market, for example, transportation services, logistics, or cargo passenger services in general. An analysis is conducted. This is a classic approach. We can rely on this market. For that, we need this, that, and the other, and only at the end does it come down to development. That is, many businesses do this. They do not start with development. In this case, we are approaching it from both sides. On one hand, we are launching the development of a demonstrator, and on the other hand, we are initiating market research for the second large vehicle. So our priority is not even more about being somewhere in the operating company, in the manufacturing, or in the developer. Our priority is to progressively advance this entire wide range with a strong and comprehensive push towards the full-scale development of the industry.
Is the participation of the state planned for the future? If so, in what form?
Of course, it is certainly and absolutely meticulously planned. How can an industry be created without government support? Unlikely after all. Indeed, we can create an international business together. But the industry, as we say, will require building these docks in every country, and it will be necessary to align the regulatory documentation and legislation in some places. We need to completely change and leave some things as they are, while improving others. It is necessary to integrate this into the educational programs at universities and start training specialists, because there is a large number of specialists needed, starting from developers and then moving on to economists and managers. The Construction Institute is not just for builders. There are many other professions that also need to be created. That is, there will be close cooperation with government authorities. The question is when it will start and in what format. This is a completely separate issue. Here, one can plan something, but in reality, it will turn out differently. We hope it will be environmentally friendly and sustainable in every possible way.
How exactly does the state descend and how can it rise again?
It descends slowly and safely, utilizing advanced technology to ensure a smooth operation, and ascends when necessary. But there are several complex mechanisms involved in this process. Roughly speaking, this is the descent of the airship, which is a marvel of modern engineering. One very basic point is that an airship can indeed be overloaded, a fundamental fact. Conditionally, we took it from this point, released it, and it began to sink smoothly because it is overloaded. In this case, it descends due to natural processes. It can have zero weight. We let it go, and it isn't going anywhere. That's it. It's here at its equilibrium point. How can it descend? There may be a special cavity inside, or rather a bag, where air is pumped in, which presses against the lifting gas, causing the airship to change altitude. You can hang out here, or you can go further down. This is one way. The second way is to simply turn the propellers and use them to push the airship down here. There is also a third and fourth method, and all of them involve a technical aspect where the airship is overloaded and has zero buoyancy, or even negative buoyancy, when it is being pulled up very strongly. This happens, for example, when it releases a large cargo or something else occurs. At this point, a combination of several methods begins, with ballast being inflated and engines being turned, and all sorts of things happening. We discussed this during a technical webinar, it seems, with Dmitry Kmel and also with Alexander Nikolaevich. You can see that we held technical webinars on Fridays, and we will continue to do so. This question has already been answered in detail. The webinar is technical, but overall, I've opened up for you. It's just a general question. How does it descend if it's currently flying somewhere? It needs to adjust controls, and it will go down. Then, adjust controls again, and it will go up. I just understand what the question is about. Ballasted, unballasted, and so on. Some are ballasted, some are unballasted. There will be a lot of airships. They will be designed for specific tasks, and these altitude adjustment systems will be duplicated in some cases and unique in others. In general, we will tell everything and show everything.
What gas will it be? State of
Helium.
only helium, right?
Only helium for now.
Some questions about the financing process. Where is your company, and where is the broadcast from? The broadcast is being conducted from Moscow, specifically from the office of the company NOVA, which is also registered in Russia. If we take Solar Group, it is an offshore company, and it is currently in Chambers. This has been discussed many times, including today when this topic was touched upon. Our company is licensed, has a license for its activities, and can operate worldwide, which also answers the question of why everything is in dollars. Because we are working on a project that covers not only Russia, in other words, we cover a huge number of countries, specifically 194 countries. It is from these countries we have participants and investors investing in both the Airship project and the SOLARGROUP project. And we are creating such infrastructure from both legal and technical and financial perspectives, so that people from all over the world can participate in these projects, which is why it is also in dollars. Moreover, the dollar still remains an international currency today, which is convenient both for financing and for budgeting large projects. Budgeting a project in rubles can be problematic. As you know, if tomorrow the dollar exchange rate changes from 90 to 150, all your ruble budgets will no longer be accurate.
For now, the dollar is still considered the single central currency, so it's easier to calculate from the dollar. It's clear that we are all patriots of the ruble. That's obvious. We can recalculate. According to the gold standard, if you are not satisfied with dollars.
Yes, it is important to understand that it doesn't matter whether it's rubles, dollars, or so on. All this money quickly turns into something physical, into the assets that the company creates. So there were dollars, there were rubles, but what difference does it make? You see, there is an office. Yes, For now it's rented, but there is still a place where the team is already working on the project today. Well, it seems that the questions here have come to an end. I don't know if there are any interesting questions on vContact, but overall,
There is something about the license here now. Oh, no, it's the same again. We need to obtain a license. So, they say, let's hold a competition for logos. If you can draw logos and see a logo of a company that produces airships with the word NOVA, go ahead and create it. It can be done by hand, on a computer, or approached professionally, even with a certain brand book. It's all about creating and selecting the right fonts and colors. In general, if you definitely have the skills and the desire, of course, proceed forward and share it in Telegram.
yes, shall we maybe do it by the end of the week?
Yes, at this point in time, we still haven't completely gathered all the ideas about airships. I apologize again. I confess, we held a competition for the coolest idea, something non-trivial, on how to use an airship. In general, we include any fantasies and imagine that this is a concert venue. I don't know, hanging over Everest. This is entertaining, but in reality, there are many more practical applications that are much more useful. They launched such a competition. The winner of the competition should have been chosen, I think, about 2 weeks ago. And he would have become a happy visitor to our office. But since we are only currently settling into the office conditionally during the first week, we have not yet chosen a winner. I am already tired of postponing deadlines. I apologize for that. I wake up, run to work, fall asleep, jump up, and run further. In fact, there is not much time.
So where are we collecting the questions?
Layla absolutely sent me a table and it really needs to be updated. It's just that who will choose? I said that I would choose, but damn, there is so much to do, like a bunch of fools. Maybe you will choose.
I can choose. Or, we can organize a vote within the team right now, but that might take some time, but we will definitely choose yes, especially since we've already gathered.
They gathered.
All right, we will definitely do everything, and we will show you how the winner will come to the office, so you know that in our contests, if you participate, everything will definitely happen.
All right, let's wrap this up. It seems like it's literally time.
Yes, I think so.
Already a lot.
But there are achievements. Today we have less than 2 hours until our webinar, and we are already moving in the right direction. Friends? So, thank you very much for being with us today. Don't forget to like, share, and invest in our project.
Yes, if something is unclear or if you have any questions, we have a group on Telegram. You can find the link below the broadcast you are watching. Join. There is a Q&A section for questions and answers. If you have any suggestions, please write them in the suggestions. In general, we are completely open to this live communication through Telegram. It's not necessary to write officially via email, so feel free to write there and let's be active. We will also be filling this channel with more interesting content now, so see you on Telegram.
Yes, that's it. Goodbye, everyone.
That's all. Goodbye.